Hello, this is Jason P. Wilson 01 X-Force, and I am back from vacation. I went to the beautiful islands of Hawaii, and mostly stayed in Kauai, the Garden Island. Loved it. And I'm now back, and I had a huge stack of comics to read, review, and post. And I already posted my Marvel and Independent, and now I'm posting my DC. Now, these DCs are from the weeks of October 19th, October 29th, and November 2nd, and today is November 4th. It is Friday. And first up here is Action Comics number 3. You know, I really was worried at first because I love my Superman with a white hat, and I love his classic origin, and I would have really loved it if they just told the same origin that they've always told, that classic story. I would have been, loving it. But we're not. We have a different twist on it. But I think Morrison's doing a great job. I think he's making it more edgy. So, we're kind of worried about Superman at some points. At the same time, he's kind of pulling in that classic Superman origin that we know into his kind of darker, changed origin story. And I like it. I think he's doing a really good job. I think if Superman becomes Superman with a white hat, I think I'm going to have more respect for him as a character because he's gone through a lot more. And here you have the great cover. I love this Earth is for Earthling, or Earth for Earthlings sign back there. Alien Free World. That's pretty funny. A very good comic. Definitely Morrison is hitting his stride here with his storytelling. Also the artwork. At first, I liked it, but I wasn't sure. Now 3 issues in, I'm loving it. An excellent comic, and if you're not reading Action, go pick up these first 3 issues. Don't wait for trade. You need to be reading Action right now. It is the Superman story that you have to read. And next up here is the other Legacy title that is in my saver. And I am loving this in a different way. Like, it's apples and oranges. Action and Detective have always been apples and oranges, so it's hard to compare the two. I think that Daniel is doing a fantastic job. I like the artwork, I love the story, and I love this new villain. I think he fits in perfectly with Batman's Rogue Gallery. It's a very dark, gothic, undertone type story, and it's pretty gritty. At the same time, you have these shocking endings at the end of the comics. At first, I thought it might be a gimmick, but I'm liking it now. And you got a lot of really cool things happening in this comic. The action definitely has stepped up a bit. My only complaint before was that I didn't think there was good motion in the action, but I think they did a better job here. Still, really good, and I'm enjoying Detective quite a bit. I know that some people are hit and miss with Detective. Me personally, I think it's the other Batman book that you need to read. Obviously, you have Batman with Capullo and Snyder, and that probably is the flagship Batman right now. They're definitely doing a great job, and they deserve all the great attention that they get because they are hitting it out of the park. But I think Detective is equally hitting it out of the park, just in a different way. I'd also probably say the same thing about Batman and Robin. But a great issue, and if you're missing this first issue, it probably isn't a action, go back and get them, but definitely I would pick up the trade. I'm loving Detective, and I think if you're a Batman fan, you will too. Okay, Red Lanterns. Now, I was reading Green Lanterns, and I thought this would go well with it. I already dropped Green Lanterns for reasons of I just thought I'd pick up trades. I love science fiction and I love superheroes, so the Lanterns books fit perfectly with me, and I really wanted to, keep on reading them. And who knows, maybe I'll break down and pick them up if they're on the stack like I do most of the time. But I did put Green Lantern out of my saver, but I wasn't ready to pull Red Lanterns out yet, like I did Green Lanterns, mostly because this issue is coming out. And of all the Red Lanterns, this Red Lantern is really one of the most interesting to me. She is really kind of a cool character, very different and she's probably my favorite Red Lantern. Actually, I would say yes. That and the main guy who's pulling the Red Lantern team together. But I like the origin stories, where Green Lantern, it was easier for me to drop because it's basically just continuing what was going on before, which I wasn't reading. So it's easy for me to just keep on picking up trades for Green Lantern. But with Red Lanterns, it's harder for me to drop because, well, they're all origin stories, and I think that's really neat. I'm a big fan of origin stories. I know some people get tired of them, but see, I don't. I just love the origin. I love the intimacy of an origin story, because you're seeing why the superhero is who they are, and there's nothing more intimate and telling than the origin stories of that character. And with the exception of the big ones like Wonder Woman and Superman and Batman, DC doesn't really do a lot of other origin stories. Of course, Green Lantern, they did a whole retelling of it a while back. But when it comes to minor characters, like I would consider her a minor character, you don't get a lot of that stuff. And I think a lot of Red Lanterns, all of them, are considered minor characters. So every issue, for the most part, you're getting like origin stories. I think it's pretty cool. So it's keeping me from dropping it. It's keeping my interest. And this was a really cool issue. Again, the artwork is just drop dead gorgeous. I mean, it's just fantastic. And that alone is hard for me to drop. But the origins story and the way they tell it, it's really cool. And it's making me really get to know these characters, which I didn't know before. So here I thought of the two. I mean, I kind of got Red Lanterns as a companion to Green Lanterns, and thought I'll just drop it at the same time, or if I was keeping one to be green, but it ended up being red. I like it, and I think I want to at least see all the origin stories. Definitely a really good comic, and I would recommend it for anyone, even by itself. Alright, next up is one of my favorite DC relaunches, and that is Aquaman number 2. I was really happy with Aquaman number 1, and I couldn't wait for this to come out. Could not wait. Now it's out, and wow, it was worth the wait. When comics are this good, and Jeff Johns is writing such a great Aquaman, I almost want to not read them. And I do this a lot. I just save them, and then I read them all at once. But at the same time, when you just want to see what happens, it comes out, you just can't help but open it. So that's what happened with me. Even better than the first issue. This is a great time to go pick up that first and second issue of Aquaman. This is definitely a must-read, even if you're not an Aquaman fan. Give Aquaman a chance. A great comic. By the way, these are some of my favorite new villains. I think they're doing a really good job, DC is, picking up new villains as well as reimagining classic ones. And that's one of my favorite new villains. It's kind of a race of villains. Alright, next up here is Swamp Thing number 3. Scott Snyder is a really good writer, and definitely the writing is really well done. Also, I like the artwork. I think it's beautiful. I don't really care for the covers. I'm kind of a covers fan. I kind of go for covers. But I won't, if I have a cover that's great but the story's terrible, I won't continue picking up or anything like that. But I do love it when you have a great cover and you're excited to open up and read it. And a lot of the DC comics are that way. Swamp Thing is not. They're just kind of funky, almost retro type covers. And sometimes I like that, but I'm not really digging it right here. But at the same time, you open up the pages, it doesn't really matter, because the story is great and the artwork is great, and they come together beautifully. Now, I still believe this might be... No, I do still believe this is a comic that would definitely be best read in trade form. And just the one thing of advertisements that I bring up again and again. Some comics like Batwoman and Swamp Thing are so beautiful to look at, with double page spreads and everything, that the advertisements that are placed in these comics just take away from that. So, if you're semi-interested in Swamp Thing, I would say wait and pick up the trades. But if you're a huge Scott Snyder fan, I would say definitely pick up the singles. It was a great issue. I like the whole twist here with his greatest love. Now on the cover here you see this: once his greatest love, now his deadliest enemy. That's interesting. To tell you the truth, I don't think I'm digging the whole bad girl thing. I'm not digging the chick with the motorcycle and the shotgun. Maybe I'll like it more later, but you know, I'm not liking that. I mean, maybe this cover, the stuff that happens in the comic isn't the same as the cover. It's just a variation, of course, like we all know. Still, I mean, come on. It's a pretty dumb cover. Jumping a street bike and then shooting a shotgun and stuff like that. But they're trying to make her character hard, kind of, and you know, that's the opposite of how she was, really. At the same time, I'm kind of trying to embrace the new change of these classic DC characters, so I don't want to diss it off. But I think everything else about the story is fantastic. The dark villain, this creepy entity type villain that they're really slowly showing is great, really scary. The artwork really kind of pulls you in, and the story telling really just continues that sucking in of this dark world of Swamp Thing. Really well done, and definitely the best Swamp Thing to come out in a very long time. Alright, next up here is Batwing. Now, I'll try to start going through these a little quicker. Batwing is a great comic. I think it's a really well-written one and beautifully illustrated one. Judd Winnick does a really good job, and he's becoming one of my favorite writers. He does a great job. This is kind of a great time to drop off for me, though, because we get our final battle. We get our final battle. And, you know, even though there's obviously stuff going on after this, I thought this might be a great pickup on trade book as well. Though, if you're into a new character of Batman, see, I have tons of Batman comics, so this is an easy one for me to drop. But not because of the writing and not because of the artwork, because they're both great. I do think that some people complained about the backgrounds. It's in, you know, Africa, yet you really don't have any backgrounds going on. Once in a while, they do a really cool background. But mostly, it just feels like they could be anywhere. And I agree with you. I think that's one thing they need to change. You almost feel claustrophobic sometimes. Though I think this issue did a better job than the other two. The other two are more claustrophobic. Still, you're right. That I think you guys are right. That's definitely something they need to change. They need to show the environment of Africa in a lot bigger detail. I mean, big spread pages showing the world. They need to do that better, even though it's nighttime and Africa is pretty much pitch dark at nighttime if you're away from the cities. But still, they need to do a better job, and I'm sure they will. I'm sure they will. I just think they're really focusing on kind of almost like the origin telling here of Batwing. I think it's a great comic, and I do really like it. So if you're looking for a new superhero, I definitely think this is one of the best written and illustrated new superheroes of DC. Next up here is Teen Titans number 2. You know what? I'm really trying to drop this. For so many things I don't like about it, there are that many things and a few more that I do like about it. The artwork is great. I think the storytelling is great. It's kind of slow-paced for me. I would like more in here. I think like the X-Men relaunching of Uncanny and Wolverine and the X-Men, I think they had a lot in there. Like they put a lot in the pages of those first comics. I think of all the DCs, I think Teen Titans is a little lean. I think you kind of go through it real quickly and you feel like you didn't get quite enough to satisfy you for the wait for a whole month for the next issue. With that said, I do think they're doing a lot of great things. I was really concerned about these new weird-looking superheroes, but now we're getting to see one of the new ones, and I think they might do a really good job. I mean, they were kind of weird, and the guy with the big hands and stuff, kind of strange. And I like different stuff. I like Green Lantern, cool sci-fi strange, and I like horror sci-fi strange, and definitely superhero strange. But for a superhero team, I thought, well, they're almost doing like a New Mutants type thing, and that's fine as long as it's done well. At 2 issues in, I think they are doing a good job. I'm still have my concerns about future heroes that are coming to the team. I would have probably liked, maybe more established characters. I don't know. Maybe it would have been cool if they took some of the characters they put in other teams and put them back on the Teen Titans. I won't name names, but I think you know who I'm talking about. Anyways, I do like it. I think it's well done. The artist is great. I think the artwork is beautiful. Storytelling is pretty decent, and I do like it, but I still have a question mark. Next here is Justice League number 2, and what can you say? You have a team like this, Johns Lee, great colorist Williams, and you're going to have a great, beautiful comic. The storytelling is solid enough. Obviously, it's a little lean just because we're just getting started. We're only 2 issues in. I think once we get to 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7, I think Johns will hit his stride. So I'm not worried about that. The artwork is absolutely gorgeous. The only problem with it looking so good is that Superman, for instance, will not look as good anywhere else. But that's okay, because we get our dream team on Justice League, and here we have the flagship of DC living up to its potential. You get the greatest superheroes looking their best, written very strongly, and I'm sure in the future extremely well. A really good second issue. I was very pleased with it, and I cannot wait till issue number 3. It's definitely one of my favorites. And I would say of all the DCs, Justice League is like the summer blockbuster that keeps on pumping out the beautiful, fun action. Next up here is Wonder Woman number 2. I'm really liking this. I like the dark tone they took with Wonder Woman. And even this art style, a lot of people weren't sure about the art style. I actually really like it. I read the first issue and I thought, okay, I see what people are talking about. But then the second issue comes out and I'm like, you know what? After 1 issue, I'm already a fan of this artwork for her. I'm going to be really sad if they eventually change the art style now, because it's so different. It feels very Xena, okay? It does. It feels very Xena, but that's a good thing. Like, all the cool things I loved about the Xena series, it's here. Definitely a great comic. And definitely recommended. Next up here is Batman number 2. Obviously, this is the best Batman book that comes out right now. Scott Snyder, Greg Capullo doing a fantastic job. And here 2 issues in, it's just getting better. I'm so excited to see what they're going to be doing in future issues. And here is a team that I hope stays on Batman, if possible, indefinitely. I know that's impossible, but that would be great, wouldn't it? A really great comic. Alright, next up here is Catwoman number 2. It really starts where it left off. I can see the whole controversy. It doesn't really bug me at all. I think it's kind of cool seeing, Batman and Catwoman like this. I think it's really cool. They've never done it like this before, and I'm really liking this comic. If I drop this, it's going to be one that I'm going to be really sorry I did, but I hope they come out in trades, because if I end up not keeping this, I definitely want to continue reading it. A really strong second issue, and I think Catwoman's one of the best new comics of the new DCU. I mean, if I had to choose between Wonder Woman and Catwoman, I'd choose Wonder Woman. But still, it's a really good comic, and I really like what they're doing with their character. Next up here is Nightwing. I really like the art style of Nightwing. Storytelling is very Batman's, kind of dark, kind of very classic, and I enjoy that. And I do like the art style. I think the art style is pretty cool. This new villain is a very interesting one. I hope they don't, mess up this character. I want more mystery with the new characters. But when they bring out these new villains, I just think they need to hold back and really have a lot of mystery. Like, who is this and why? And have them seem maybe scarier or more powerful than they really are, because you don't know too much. And I'm worried they might spoil that too much with this new villain, because they kind of already did. So hopefully they can fix that. If not, I think they miss a great opportunity with this really cool new character. But at this point, I'm holding out that they'll do a good job with it. I like Dick Grayson. Excuse me, I love Dick Grayson, and I'm excited he has his new Nightwing back. Next up here is Red Hood and the Outlaws #2. I really like the first issue. I think Red Hood deserves his own ongoing, and I like his cast members here. I definitely always liked Arsenal here, Red Arrow. And I wasn't sure about Starfire at first, but 2 issues in, I'm really liking this 3 team here. I like what they're doing too. I like 2 issues in, and a lot has happened already. This is definitely one comic that can teach some of the other new comics how to get your pacing done. Really well drawn to, beautiful artwork. I think the characters really stand out in a positive way. There's really nothing negative for me to say about this comic. It's only 2 issues in, but it's definitely one of my favorites. Now, the rest of these comics are not in my saver, but I just picked them up before I left on vacation. I read them and just didn't post them yet. I just wanted to, read second issues of some of the ones that I dropped. Suicide Squad #2. I like it. I think it's pretty cool. I really like Harley Quinn, and I like Deadshot here. But after issue #2, I'm not going to be adding it back to my saver or anything. Though I think it's a really good issue, and if you're reading it, I can see why. And the same goes for Superboy. #2 is really even better than the first one. I was a fan of the first Superboy. I dropped it just because I needed to make certain cuts, and this is one of the ones that I was sorry that I did. Reading issue #2 makes me even more sorry that I did. Though of all the ones I dropped, this is one I think I might keep on grabbing when I see it on the stack. This is a really cool second issue. I really like what they're doing with Superboy. I like the whole relationship that he has with, I'm forgetting her name, but the redheaded with the glasses that's kind of mothering him almost. At the same time, he's being used, so it's kind of like a gray area, and he's trying to figure this stuff out. This has some pretty cool action in it too. Really cool cover, really freaky creature he's fighting there. Another really good super book is Supergirl #2. Now, the only complaint I probably have with Supergirl is the pacing. It's pretty slow pacing, even though there's cool stuff that happens. It's beautifully drawn. The action's really well done. And there's a lot of action. But 2 issues in, and it almost feels like not too much time has gone by. I think that might be, obviously, this is probably done on purpose, but I don't know. I like to be 2 months into a comic book and feel that I didn't read like an hour's worth of time. You know what I mean? With that said, it's still a really good comic. I've always liked Supergirl. I love her new costume, and this is a really good issue. It's definitely better than the first one. This will be a comic that I will keep my eye out for, even though it's not in my saver anymore. I will be tempted to pick up future issues. Really cool cover, by the way. And I'm trying to go through this a little quicker because my Marvel posting was a little long. But last up here is Young Justice number 9. This is a really great family comic. I say the same thing every time I review it. I think I'm going to drop it just because I need to make cuts. And this is such a fast read. Value-wise, you know, if you're reading comics with your kids, this is definitely one of the best ones out there to get. I can't think of a comic that's kid-friendly, rated E for everyone, that would be enjoyed by young and older kids as well as adults. I think this is probably the only one out there that can really hit everybody and have it be enjoyable. With that said, I watched the series and it's a great companion with the series. But since I do read the series, watch the animated series, and you know, this would be one that I didn't want to cut for the longest time, but I think I finally am. Still, it's a really good issue, and obviously that's Captain Atom, and this is a pretty cool issue here. In fact, of all the comic books, this one actually has the most in it. You're not going to get through it quite as fast as you do all the others, but a very good family comic book. And with that said, those are my DCs. Like I said, I really liked every single one of them. I had hardly any negative feelings about any of the DC. I think both Marvel and DC are doing a really good job. Now, if you've been watching the charts, you know that DC has been on top, and I think that's to be expected. For the longest time, it was Marvel, 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 DC, DC, and now it's like DC, 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 Marvel, Marvel, Marvel. So I think the whole relaunching of some of the big books in Marvel is their way of battling this whole relaunching of DC. I'm not a fanboy. I'm a fanboy of comic books, not really a DC or Marvel. I don't like to have them go against each other. But I do like seeing DC on top, and I really kind of hope they stay there because I think that it's important for them. Marvel is going to be fine regardless. DC, it's really going to help them if they stay on top, which they have been. They definitely have been beating Marvel week in, week out in comic sales. And with that, those are my DCs. I'm really liking Marvel and DC right now. I am making some more cuts, but by doing it this way, I'm going to have the very best I think that both companies have to offer. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what you guys have read. Let me know of these comic book, which ones are your favorites. And with that, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.